Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts, episode 321, and today I'll be reacting to Purple Tales Podcast, episode 3. Now, I have to eat these zebra cakes while we're at the subject. Now, it's getting close to be Easter Sunday while I'm taping this, so it's getting there, so there you go on that. So let's react to episode 3 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
Continuing our look now at the best in children's television. This morning, the new kid, dinosaur on the block.
The big purple reptile that kids can't resist.
The big purple
teaches about love and it just kind of like suits the kids.
And always, there's that signature song.
Welcome to Purple Tales Podcast number 3. CAREY STINSON. Barney for many years. I'm Nancy J. And CAREY, this is number 3, so we've got a couple of episodes under our belt.
Yes.
How has the reaction been so far?
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The response from all the Barney people has been amazing, and so excited about all the people we're going to be able to bring in and tell their stories, and the fans seeing these kids' stories and these adults now, how they're reacting to it is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this?
For that reason right there. It is just warmed my heart that we're getting to tell these wonderful stories. All of these amazing people that are my friends are going to get to tell their stories, and the reactions that we've had has just been incredible.
Still.
So I'm excited that we just keep going.
And of course, if you're listening to this right now or watching it, this is where you can find us. Be sure and like us, subscribe, do all that, because I'm finding out that it's not just the Barney people, it's the Barney fans from all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Incredible. They've been sending me messages.
I've got one I'd like to read.
Okay,
I mean, is this
perfect.
okay? I
Absolutely.
thought this was really a neat one. This is from a man by the name of Michael Wally.
Okay.
And so he just talks about how much he loves the podcast and that he was a huge fan of Barney growing up. And now I am an event producer for kids events in Nashville, Tennessee.
Just awesome.
It was awesome. CAREY, if you're watching this, you're going to love this podcast. So there you go. Michael Wally, good job. Continue.
He says that he actually gives so much credit to Barney for inspiring my imagination and creativity. I'm still a huge fan and geeking out about all the behind-the-scenes info. See, that's
Love
what
it.
people are getting.
Love it.
I mean, you all know.
Right.
You know what happens behind the scene
Right.
and inside the suit.
Absolutely.
But nobody else does. And
Yes.
he had a question. Is this okay?
Sure.
Okay, so this is from Michael. And Michael is asking about kind of the studio and the sets. And,
Right.
and where were the episodes filmed? Are any of these studios and sets still in existence? Is there a Barney costume around, perhaps?
Well, there is that. The sets are not around anymore. It was started in Allen, Texas, and then they moved to Las Colinas.
That's North Texas.
That's correct. And then they
North of
moved
Dallas.
to Las Colinas, and then Carrollton, and that's where I did the shows for 12 years.
And you can ask questions too of CAREY and also of our guests. And all you have to do is email us at info@purpletalespodcast.com. And that's where we've been getting so many.
Oh, it's so much
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've read some of the comments on YouTube, and one of them was a guy who's now a filmmaker, and he said it was because of watching Barney and the production value was so great.
It's amazing. And I got one, a guy that was a teenager that actually hated Barney, and since watching the podcast has changed his mind. And I think that's an exciting part that we get to.
Now, I don't know how much he hated Barney, which is my childhood favorite, and he's loved and he's wanted to watch the podcast. It was so stupid. Now, I'm going to email info@the purpletalespodcast.com about this. It was so great, just let us know about that. So let's continue on.
Show, and I think when we show the people and you hear the stories and how much they loved and how much we were behind it, I think it excites people.
And I think it's important to remember that it's good to give something a second chance.
Absolutely.
It was.
Absolutely.
When it comes to Barney.
Yes.
So I know we've had Baby Bop on, Jeff. We've had Joe on, the
Yes.
music director. I mean, we've had these great guests, and all these names are coming out, though,
Yes.
asking you to contact this person, contact this person. It looks like we might be able to do this for many, many years.
It looks like it, and we are. I'm talking to so many people that are going to do it. We've reached out to everyone. We're continuing to reach out. Anyone that wants to be on the show from the Barney World, please contact me. And I cannot wait to get all these people on here, and I am so excited about who we have here today.
Who do we have here today?
So I toured from 1996 for 5 years. And the first year, the first big one, Barney's Big Surprise, one of the kids is here today.
Oh my gosh. You're a grown-up now.
I am.
This is Courtney.
Oh my. Courtney Cook. Wait. Her last name is CHAVERA? Or CHAVERA. Someone. I don't pronounce her last name. Something like that.
Oh, that's
Courtney is here.
Okay.
Okay.
Courtney, you were one of the kids on tours with CAREY. Now, this was, let's talk about that
Yes,
whole tour.
absolutely.
This was the first one, right? Okay.
Absolutely. And it was a massive tour. Joe talked about it a little bit last week. We saw some of the pictures of the arenas, and Courtney was one of the first kids that went out with us.
How did you get this job? And how old were you? Give us the scoop here.
Well, I was 11. It was around my 6th grade year. And funny story, I had actually auditioned for the TV show Barney years prior. And they told me they couldn't use me, and they referred me to an acting studio for kids in Dallas. It's called Dallas Young Actors Studio. And I took classes there. I met someone else from the Barney World there. And they actually referred me to audition for the tour. And I auditioned for the tour. Just a side note, it was probably one of the best auditions ever because at the table, I can't remember who was at the table because I was 11. But all I remember was they were all smiling and they were all just cheering me on from this audition table. And you don't see that at auditions. And it was the most comfortable audition I had ever had. And you know, we found out, not sure how long after that I got the job. And
what was the audition? Did you sing? Did you dance? What did you do?
We did a little bit of everything.
Okay.
They had me sing one of the songs.
Do you remember it?
Couldn't tell you which one it was. Could have been about ducks. Could have been about kites. I don't know. We did a dance routine.
Okay.
Miss Penny was there. I remember that.
Who was Miss Penny?
She's the choreographer.
So very dear to all of our hearts. Miss Penny was the choreographer from all the TV show Barney and the Backyard Gang, the first videos.
Yeah, she was. And yeah, my heart's to Penny Wilson, who passed away in 2011. Now, I don't know how much time we can deal with this, but I really miss her very much. You know, I haven't met her in my life, but I went to the Barney's birthday bash tour, but instead, I would ask permission, for a tour as part of my TV channel, but instead they said no. And Drew Pierce said, "What you have done, Luke?" And I have to run off from home and to somewhere else. I'm like, okay, this is getting out of control. So there you go. Let's continue on.
We lost her several years ago, and it's very tough on all of us because every performer loved Miss Penny.
Yeah.
And she loved every performer.
She did. She took care of us and she loved Barney, and she loved the kids. She was just absolutely amazing.
She
was. You're 11 years old.
Yeah.
And you get this amazing gig.
Yes.
And you knew who Barney was already, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, coming from Dallas and being in the industry, you knew what Barney was, where it was filmed. I actually knew a lot of kids from the TV show. They would come through, we'd be in the same acting classes growing up. So
Do you remember
it was
which ones?
a very small world.
Do you remember which kids?
Erica Rhodes, Sarah Hickman. I'm blanking on names. Another Erica with red hair. that I can't remember her last name now. Sarah actually was my neighbor down the street. We actually grew up together, and then we both had these Barney experiences as well. She had a very different one because she was on the TV show, and I was on the tour, which was very different. from being one of the kids on TV. First of all, you don't get recognized on the street. People didn't know that I was on Barney, which, you know, these other kids who are on the TV show and on the VHS tapes, you know, and in all those videos, they could, you know, get recognized in the grocery store. And I didn't. I just had this very private, personal experience that, you know, it's just one of the best experiences that I've ever had, really.
It's interesting because Carey's experience is similar. No one knew that you were inside the suit.
Right.
No. Not until this podcast.
Yeah. And life is not going to ever be the same for you.
Yeah.
So what was your feeling when you got the role? I mean, do you remember, like, oh my God, you know?
I was excited. I remember I was at my acting class. I was at my studio, and my mom called me. She called the office and they said, "Hey, your mom's on the phone. Go get on the phone." And I was on the phone with my mom, and she told me about it, and I was screaming. I was jumping up and down. People were looking at me funny, and because I knew it was, you know, a job to do, but I also knew that it was an 8-month tour. It was, you know, I was getting out of the city. It wasn't just going to be a one-off job, you know, just one day of shooting and that was it. It was a big commitment, and at the time I hadn't known how big it was, but yeah, it was exciting.
Carey, do you remember your feeling when you were told, okay, we want you to do this tour?
I do.
Did you jump up and down?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. So I'm the one person from that tour that had been around. I had been doing Barney for over 5 years at that point, and so I don't think
And you were doing Barney
appearances, PR, sing-alongs. So they were a mini tour is what they were. They were 20 minutes. It was just Barney, and we would travel all over the world doing those. And we were in Dallas. We didn't have all the social media, so this was small. And so when they called me and they said, "Do you want to be the lead on the tour?" I didn't understand as well. I was like, "Yeah, I think that sounds." I just didn't understand how big it was going to be and what it was going to be. Yeah. And I remember telling my parents, and my dad was like, "Are you crazy? You have got to go," which of course I was going to do, but had no idea how big it was going to be. And then I remember showing up in Las Colinas. We had an introduction in Las Colinas at the studios. And I remember standing, we all had to introduce ourselves, and I stood up and introduced myself, and I remember just thinking, look at all these people. I mean, the crew and the cast and...
A ton of people. We were meeting new people left and right those first few weeks, and we were still in school. We had started school before we started rehearsals, and we were meeting everybody, so, you know, it was a lot.
Absolutely.
Do you remember meeting Carey for the first time?
You know, I really don't.
Oh.
I wish I had a really great when I met Carey story. I have lots of other memories, you know, but not the first meet. No.
Well, set the stage, you two, for this whole tour. Like, what did it entail? Where were you going? That kind of thing.
It was absolutely unbelievable because Barney had never toured before. Everything that Barney did was a little bit different because we were Dallas, Texas. So Sloan Coleman, she was our executive producer. She went out and hired the top road people. As we mentioned last week, we had roadies from the Stones. We had Jake Berry that was running this tour. You know, Joe Phillips, who's coming from Florida and who had worked on Braveheart. And so you had all these amazing people. Miss Penny, who had been around forever, the choreographer. You know, the director, the sets were coming from New York. I mean, it was a huge deal. And in fact, our good friend Professor Tinkerput, Barry Pearl was in the movie Grease. He was one of the T-Birds. So he came in, and so he had a little bit of a name to himself. He had been on the Barney NBC special. So this was kind of a big deal. And we started out in Fort Worth, as we mentioned last week. And then we went to, I think it was St. Louis. And you were gone for a week, doing 7 shows a week.
So how many kids were there?
There were 4 in the cast.
Well, there was 5 that first year.
Yes, there's 5 because we had a swing/understudy. So, and I remember she went on for me a few times when I would get sick and I lost my voice, and she would just be able to hop on stage and do any of our 4 parts, which was amazing in itself. So she had a very unique role. And but in the show there was 4 kids in the 4 characters of kids. There's 2 boys, 2 girls, And but yeah, the 5 of us were traveling, and I mean, we like you said in the episode last week, we'd close the show on a Sunday, we'd travel Monday, and then you mentioned that you had a day off or so. We didn't. We had to go to school, and so they would set up classrooms in whatever venue we were in, and we had state rules that we had to follow for how many hours we could work, how many hours we had to be in school, things like that. And I think they differed sometimes between states, and there were different rules we had to follow. I don't remember any of that. I just remember reading books and doing our work and all that. But it was interesting. And mentioning school, I have to mention Miss Rhonda.
Oh yes.
Our teacher.
Absolutely.
She was our one room teacher. She taught 3 grade levels because we were all different ages.
I think you brought a picture from the
I
school.
did.
Let's just take a look at
I
that
did.
real quick and just kind of take a look. And my goodness, so you were really, it's kind of like you were homeschooled, but you were Barney schooled.
We were Barney schooled.
Okay.
Yes. And that was,
Yeah,
and that's always
absolutely.
the first question people ask me, because I was there we are, we're set up in some room in the venue.
Okay, 4 kids.
Hey, that was our lunch break, I think.
Oh my goodness.
And,
Oh,
and
my.
you see, we have textbooks, we have all of our work that we were doing. I mean, after that year of school, I really completed a year of school, and I was ready to go to the next grade level. I didn't miss a thing.
And Nancy, you notice there's no iPads, there's no
Oh, no.
smartphones.
No,
there's
No.
Spiral notebooks,
course
actual
not.
books.
That's so cute. Now,
Yeah.
do you remember all those other kids? I mean, you were with them for a year.
Oh yeah, that was Antoine, Trent, and Vanessa, and that was our core little group. And
Yeah.
I mean, we were together all the time.
And that's what you need to understand, Nancy, is we were a family because we were out. We were together all the time. Every city we went into,
How many
we
cities?
were together.
40 or more.
Something like that.
Were you on a bus, or did you get to fly first class?
Well, we started. So here's the interesting story about this. Funny story about that is that we started out on planes, and that was a little rough because you've got 50 people, you've got kids, and you've got roadies and everything in between, and we'd have to get on a bus early, go to the airport, all of that. So the roadies wanted tour buses, like you would have typically on a tour. So they were going to get us tour buses. Well, the cast wasn't really into that at the beginning because they thought it was a traditional, like a bus and truck tour. And they were like, no, you don't understand about but these aren't your typical buses. And when we saw the buses that had sleeping compartments and the whole thing, we were like, yeah, let's do that.
They were so cool. I mean, as from a kid standpoint, that was probably the coolest thing
Yeah, they
ever.
had
We
their own-
loved the bus.
Their own bunk,
We loved the bus.
3 buses. So cast, kids, and
So you had the
The
kids
crew.
had their own bus.
Yeah.
Their
And it was, it was like high luxury. We felt real special in it. I mean, you walk in, there's a little kitchenette, there's a lounge area, and then the bunks. And of course, all the kids got top bunks, and the moms and adults, they had their middles and bottom bunks.
You mentioned moms. There were chaperones, correct?
Of course, my mom went with me.
Well, and as a matter of fact, I think she's still your chaperone, right? I think she came here today.
Yes, I think so.
I'd love to bring her in. I mean, we'll just
Yeah.
keep talking. Let's bring her
Oh,
in.
yay.
But
So exciting.
so you're on this bus,
Mhm.
and did you made stops, and then you're in and you just get back on the bus and keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
But I remember, do you remember
We'd drive
we
to
went from
Atlanta.
Houston to LA, and we stopped at like a Cracker Barrel, 3 tour buses with cast members, kids, and roadies going in, and
I mean, that cast of characters walking into any public place at one time.
I bet. But now you still had on the Barney suit?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, I didn't know how often he took it off or whatever. Okay.
Every once in a while.
I'll tell you what, Courtney, why don't you introduce your chaperone?
Well, this is Mom. This is Maureen Cook. She, I'm going to tear up here, probably talking about she of course, went on tour with me because you couldn't just send your kid off to go on tour. And she went with me, and it was just an amazing trip. I mean, imagine, getting to travel the country with your mom when you're 11 and 12 years old. I wasn't a teenager yet. I didn't hate her yet. So
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think we ever.
She never hated me.
Yeah, maybe a moment, but I got over it real quick. But yeah, so we have this crazy story that we get to tell all the time, and inside jokes and memories and everything, and it was just really cool.
Okay, Maureen.
Yes.
We got Courtney's take on learning her that she had gotten this role and started on the tour. So you have your daughter, your young child, going on this audition. Then what happens? She gets the role, and then what?
So we were pretty confident. We felt like she was perfect fit for the role. So we were planning, my husband and I, talking it over and, making plans. What if, what we're going to do if she gets the call. And so she got the call, and we were super excited. And my husband, God bless him, is so supportive. He stood behind us in everything. He had to take care of the two boys. We left two brothers at home. Little Corey was 6 in 1st grade, and Christopher was 14 in 8th grade, I believe. And so they were cool with it too. And it was just a great experience for the whole family, actually. When she got the part, like she said, I gave her a call, and we just jumped down and screamed and carried on like little kids. But it was a great experience. Probably one of the most wonderful times in my life as well.
Because we didn't go home for at least 3 months. So it was like Thanksgiving, and then we were back on the road, and then Christmas for a little bit, and then we were back on the road, and then I think we did a spring break.
Yeah. I mean, Carrie, at least you were a young adult.
Yes.
You're a mom leaving your husband and your 2 boys at home, traveling with your daughter for a year. That is a commitment, but that's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big responsibility, but it was also a lot of fun because I'm a travel freak anyway. I love to go. That's one of my passwords. Love to go. And I love to take pictures. So traveling and taking pictures was awesome. So we got to go to 40 cities, I believe it was, and we tried to see a little bit of every place that we went, whether it was educational or cultural or historical or just, plain fun. We embraced the whole experience.
So what are your memories of Carrie?
Oh my gosh. Carrie was like a big brother to these kids. They loved Carrie. They still love him.
Yeah.
And, he loved them too. He has such a heart for kids. And so it was never ever like the kids were pushed to one side because they were little. They were always respected and treated like the professionals that they were. And Carrie and all the cast and crew really just embraced them and took great care of them.
Because you have to understand, not only are they having to learn this routine, but they're dealing with 3 dinosaurs that are large, running, jumping, skipping, and maybe not always in the same place every night. So they've got to make sure that we don't knock them over or any of it. Because it's live. I mean, it's live every night.
Knock them over. I mean, that suit is a big suit, right?
It's a big suit.
I mean, you could have been...
tail.
I might have tripped over the tail probably 3 or 4 times. No, I remember when we'd be huddled over in part of the script, and Carrie might have had to make an adjustment inside the suit. He would say, "Courtney, hold my hands," and I would hold Barney's hands. He would slip his arm out and adjust something and slip his arm back in. And I mean, we were there, like Mom said. I mean, we were professional actors. I mean, I know Barney gets the cheesy rap sometimes. So I mean, we're professional actors. We did 7 shows a week, and that was a big responsibility to undertake and everything. So that's crazy.
So what are your memories of Courtney?
Oh, just how sweet. Just...
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just so how sweet she was, and all the kids, and really, when they say professionals, I mean, it really is the truth, because we have to count on them. Because, like I said, I might do an extra jump or a skip or a belt kick or something, and they know that, and they're looking for that, and you're a team out there, because you're in front of 3,000 people. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there.
It would terrify me sometimes how close he would get to the edge of the stage. And I think he did it on purpose after a while. He'd get as close as he could to the edge of the stage just to freak me out. Because I would be so worried that he'd fall off. And,
oh my.
I know he knew where he was. And that is amazing in itself, to be in that big 7-foot tall suit, and you know how big around you are. And he's jumping around on stage. And you get to the edge of the stage and I'm like holding my breath sometimes, and he never fell off though. He was always right there.
Still.
But yeah.
Was there a
It's
time that you kind of look back now and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that?
Yeah. Just looking at my daughter, I mean, I have 3 kids now, and my daughter's my age that I was when I was on tour.
Wow.
My oldest is, and I just look at her and I think, I was her age
Would you do
when
that
I
with
did
her?
all this. Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. Oh, yeah, I would. if that opportunity ever came up, yeah, we'd be on the road there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I mean, you know, you look back on it and it's like, I got to do all these things. I got to travel on a tour bus. I got to be in a live stage show production, you know, a Broadway style production, you know, when I was a kid. And I remember now that I'm an adult, I think back on their experience as adults, the cast members and the crew, and how great it was for them. And I'm just still in disbelief sometimes that it's something I got to do as a child and travel that much before I was 13.
Well, and think about the field trips that you used to take.
Yeah, that was something that Mom mentioned that was real fun whenever we'd be in somewhere like Philadelphia. You know, you can't go to Philadelphia and not go see all the historical stuff. So, I mean, that was school that day. Was, you know, we got, you know, U.S. history, you know, right there in person. And Miss Rondo would take us out. And, of course, all the moms got to go, too, which was always really fun and exciting. So I didn't have any experiences that weren't with Mom. So, yeah, that was that's us in Washington, D.C. That was towards the end of the tour.
Oh, my
From
God.
Memorial.
Is that Abraham Lincoln? Okay, that was cool enough.
And the kids, and yeah, so anytime there was something cool in the city, we got to go see it. And I remember sometimes there'd be other concerts and other shows, and CAREY, Mr. Big Brother, he was, you know, always taking us places. We went to Phantom of the Opera, we went to a Vince Gill concert and sat backstage because he had a connection. And Chicago, and gosh, we did all sorts of stuff. Of course,
Hootie and the Blowfish.
oh yeah, we saw Hootie and the Blowfish.
Nancy, we took other.
Oh, wait. Maureen, did you take
Wow.
that picture of Carrie in the sombrero?
Yes, I don't claim to have Carrie's photography skills, but I'm pretty good.
Wait, you were in Mexico.
We were. So that was
In the butt. You went.
Well, yeah, that was cool. Kind of reminds me of that, but anyway. Yeah, glad she was in Mexico. Yeah, I can see her belly button, but let's continue on.
Gosh, how did we get to Mexico?
No, I think we flew.
Okay, that's probably good.
That was actually a different leg of the tour. Actually, that first year of the tour, it was only U.S. cities. And then when my contract was up, I actually was not asked back for the second year because I had grown too tall. There's a height requirement on Barney, and I surpassed it. And me and one of the other boys did, so we weren't asked back.
Yeah,
Maybe his voice changed too, I suppose.
Maybe.
That
I
could've
mean,
been it.
we were, you know, 12 and 13 at that point, and
Because that was Antoine.
yes.
Yep.
Were you upset?
I was. Oh gosh, I was devastated when we didn't get to go again.
Maureen, you're not in your head, yes?
Yeah, she was really upset. It was a hard transition watching them go off without her, but she did fine.
Yeah.
We did fine.
But then she came back.
This picture, yeah, that was
to Mexico.
Yeah, the actress that took my role could not extend to the Mexico trip because that was an extension of y'all's contract, and she couldn't extend for whatever reason it was. So they were in a bind, and they needed someone who knew the show already, who could, you know, just rehearse up a little bit and join quickly because it was a kind of a last minute deal. So we did 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
We did.
In Mexico.
And I can't even tell you how difficult that show was.
Go ahead, tell us.
It's in Spanish. And guess who doesn't speak Spanish?
Oh.
So we would have to
None of
learn. None of us do. So it was taped. And then we had to learn our parts, obviously, for Barney to move his mouth and for all of us to be able to lip sync to.
Interesting. That's great. Okay, so you're this family.
Oh, yeah.
But there had to be some times where you're just like, I want to shut the door, but you have the bus. Were there some times? Oh, look at Maureen's eyes.
So I'm glad the kids love the bus. The moms tolerated the bus, but there were some good times. Yeah, there was a lot of fun on the buses. We would sit and talk. The kids played video games in the back, so it was a good way to travel. Not as fast as an airplane. I mean, I worked for an airline for many, many years, so I prefer to fly. But it was good.
Yep.
There were some lonely times. I remember one time in particular, we were in Milwaukee, and one of the moms and I had rented a car to do some errands. I think we had laundry, that kind of thing. And we stopped into a Dairy Queen. And I walked in, and there was a poster hanging on the wall, and my 6-year-old son was smiling down from the wall. He had done a photo shoot for Dairy Queen before we left on Barney. And I kind of just stood in front of that poster and got all teary-eyed and sad. Well, then it gets worse. I called him that night and said, Corey, I saw you in Dairy Queen today. And he goes, well, Mom, why didn't you come say hi? So
I still tease him about that.
we had those moments of sadness and loneliness for the kids that we left behind. But as I said earlier, they were such good sports and so supportive.
Yeah.
In a little way, then, were you glad her contract wasn't renewed so she could just maybe start a whole another journey?
It made it easier for me, but I hated seeing her disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay, you brought Courtney a journal that you kept on the road?
Oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found this in a box,
Uh-oh.
and it just happened to be the journal that Miss Rhonda had us keep.
Uh-oh.
And the first entry was.
We don't read, right? That's personal.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna read just the first little bit.
Absolutely. I mean,
I might have
this is family here, right?
I might have another little section too.
Uh-oh,
It's just
yeah.
memories. It's just memories. But no, yeah, the first one was August 1996. Today was my first day of school, or Barney school. So, like I said, we had started school before the tour really kicked off. You know, we had to start all that. But I think I have something fun here.
And kids don't write like that anymore, do they?
No.
Your kids probably.
I mean, maybe the girls do. You know, they always have, you know, little journals and fun stuff. It's kind of the fun girl thing, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see. We were in. Oh, here's something. So right now we're in Orem, Utah, which I don't think I've ever been to Orem, Utah a second time.
Beautiful. Sure, I remember. It's beautiful.
And so far, we've been to Midland, and we went to the library for school. We went to Phoenix and met the Suns players. I got an autograph from my brother.
Penny Hardaway.
Uh-huh. And then we went to Tucson, Arizona, and went on a real mountain climb, and went rock climbing. And Lee let me borrow his Doc Martens because I didn't have any hiking shoes.
And Lee was Baby Bop.
Oh,
So-
okay.
On the road for us, we had 2 dinosaurs per. So there was 2 people doing Barney, 2 people doing Baby Bop. Because you're doing so much, and there was costume changes in the show. So Barney would be in a car. He'd be Farmer Barney, or So to do that switch, and that would allow us to breathe.
Okay.
And have a little bit of water before we pop back on stage.
Well, obviously, CAREY liked to be on the edge with the audience. Did you get to have any audience interaction?
Yeah, we did. We had a little introduction part of the script, you know, where they'd introduce all the kid characters, and we'd run out and wave and say hi. And then, of course, every time there was a song and we'd be doing the moves, we'd be interacting with the kids, getting them to do the dances with us. And of course, they were up on their feet. I think the kids in the audience were up on their feet the entire show. I don't think they sat down. And
No, I don't think so.
It was so much fun because they'd be doing the moves, and they know them from the TV show.
Mhm.
Some of them were
Yeah.
the same, and then our show had new songs too, so they got to learn new songs along with us, which was unique. But yeah, I remember the opening sequence was, of course, the plush Barney doll
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, and they said use your imagination, and a bunch of smoke filled the stage, and CAREY would jump back out, and we were backstage at this time, and we'd get a sense of how big the audience was, because they would scream and go crazy as soon as larger than life Barney hopped on stage. And I mean, it was literally, 2-3 minutes of just nonstop screaming, and we'd be sitting back there, you know, and set for our places, and wow, you know.
And every night before that, though, we would get in the circle.
Yes.
You remember that?
Show circle, yes, that was always a good tradition. We had something we said every
Yeah, so
time.
if someone would say something beforehand.
There was, I've got pictures from the stage and Barney up, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That was us
There
on
she is.
stage.
There you are.
Yep.
Oh my. And that's
my.
you, CAREY, huh?
It is.
Yeah, I saw that on the website, which is on Facebook, by the way. It was awesome, so there you go. It was Barney and the kids, so there you go. It's awesome, so it's quite unique, so there you go. I mean, these two are so hot. Anyway, continue.
Carrie.
And Barney could climb up I would go up those stairs.
Oh yeah.
That was a huge
It was a huge
set piece,
set.
yeah.
Do you remember your moves?
I remember some of them. I remember that part from that picture. I think that was my favorite dance number. That song is the Happy Birthday to You.
The
song.
BJ.
The
How does
BJ
it
one.
go? How does it go?
Oh wow. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And shout it out from the tallest tree, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, that's it. That's
And you can't sing it without a smile on your
You
face.
you
can
can't, you really
No.
can't, and you don't forget those words as
No.
many times as we had to sing them. they all come right back.
absolutely.
Maureen, did you see every single show?
No, not every show, but I did sit through a lot of them because, I mean, it was the thing to do. But there were some times we took off and went and did something else. Or
Little grown up stuff?
a
maybe?
couple times maybe, but there was always a mom there.
We called them the Kid Wrangler. They all took turns pretty much. My year, they'd help us get from dressing room to the set, because these are big arenas, so we sometimes, have to walk 5 minutes to get to the stage.
Well, and you've got dinosaurs walking and
Yeah.
costume characters walking. I mean, there's a lot going on backstage. You're trying to put the picture of them.
I know. Well, it's
Dinosaurs and ducks and
yeah.
Dinosaurs,
birthday
ducks,
presents and
clowns and
rabbits and
rabbits.
Mother Goose.
We heard about an
Robots.
elephant. I mean, there's all sorts
Oh,
of
No, that
Clarence
was-
the goose.
Oh.
Clarence.
Yeah.
We had a big old goose in our show, and that was fun. That costume seemed harder than any of the dinosaur costumes.
Yeah.
I know Carrie's talked about when you were able to visit the hospitals
Yes.
as Barney and what that meant to you, and you realized what Barney means to these kids. Was there a moment that you remember like going, okay, I know what I'm doing. I got this.
Yes, and now some of the Make-A-Wish meet and greets, they were kept very private for the families. So cast members didn't really go in. It was mainly just Barney and the kids and their parents. But I remember distinctly seeing a family walk out of the meet and greet area, and we were walking past them to get to our places, and the mom of this child was just in tears, just smiling, but in tears as she was pushing her child in a wheelchair out of the meet and greet area, and they were just so happy with whatever experience they just had with Barney, and I remember seeing that, and it was like, wow, this is, I see Barney every day. I see Barney every minute of every day sometimes, and sometimes it loses its wonder for a minute, and then you see something like that, and you just see how much this really meant to the world. I mean, it was just amazing.
And then one time you went Christmas caroling at the hospitals, and so they were able to be a part of that as well. But yeah, they understood. The kids, they were small, but they understood what the whole picture was.
And we talk so much, and we will talk a lot about hospitals and Make-A-Wish. But those kids in the audience, you have to understand on a Saturday morning, they're getting up at 5 in the morning to get their parents up to get dressed, to come to there's such a commitment. They've been talking about it all week. We would hear from parents about that all the time. So when you hit that stage, you know what, I mean, there was such a commitment level.
Yeah.
That's why I was on the edge and all of that stuff, because CAREY, as I've told you before, CAREY was gone. We were gone. We were performing and entertaining, and we knew how it was important, because that move that she just did, they were all doing it. They were all singing it, and they were all doing it.
You gave 100% on stage every time, because that might be the only time that child saw Barney, and you didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
You wanted it
Yeah.
to be as the best that it could be.
Where is Barney in your life today?
Well, I mean, Barney, when I think of Barney, it's just immediate. I think of my second family, CAREY and my teacher, Miss Rhonda. I think I've kept in touch with them the most throughout the years. They came to my wedding almost 10 years ago. They came to a high school production I did when I was a senior in
it was
high
the
school.
Wizard of Oz, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did that my senior year of high school,
What
and
was
they
the
came
show?
and watched me.
It was the Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
and I played Dorothy.
Oh,
Yeah, I came
in
out
high
to see
school.
that.
Oh, really? You did Dorothy? Okay. That was Julie Garland's playable on the Wizard of Oz thing. But okay. Somewhere over the rainbow. But okay.
And they came out to see. So I mean, it wasn't just we worked together for 8 months and that was it. I mean, he's been a part of my life since I was 11, and now my kids.
And she likes to make comments about how she'll always be younger than I am.
Oh yes.
I get
And
that a lot every year.
How many years is it, Carrie?
I
how
don't know. There's still too many things to remember here, Courtney. Too many.
There really is. But my kids, when they were small, the Barney age, they would watch Barney. We'd have Barney videos, and I'd be like, hey, that's Mom's friend. Me and Barney, we go way back. And so I had, cool mom factor, when my kids were toddlers. So that was always real neat.
Did they know the songs? Have you kind of tried to teach them about Barney?
Oh yeah, they.
So you did the dances and the sing for them?
Yeah, we'd watch the videos together,
That's
So, so they knew all the songs, the I Love You and all of that. They've seen all of our pictures. Mom made a scrapbook of our tour, and they go through that and look at pictures of back then. So. They know what Mom did.
When you look back now, what is the one thing you really are using on a daily basis, would you say, that you've learned from Barney?
I would say, Barney loves everybody just the same, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're doing, where you've been, what you look like, what you believe in. Barney just loves. I mean, and I try to take that with me whenever, I'm meeting new people or, whatever it is I'm doing. It's like, love like Barney loves,
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Of course, you went into photography.
Yes.
But you are actually kind of using a lot of the things you probably learned as a Barney kid.
Yeah.
In terms of talent and what you do.
Well, I have a corporate job. I work for a nonprofit foundation, and sometimes I have to talk in front of people, and I just think this crowd of people isn't any bigger than the thousands of people we perform for on Barney. If I can sing and dance in front of a crowd of people, I can talk in a staff meeting or something. So it really just every aspect of your life kind of.
You still sing too.
I still sing. Yes, I sing on my praise team at church, and I'm working on a Christian album right now. I songwrite. Actually, the very first time I put pen to paper writing lyrics down was on tour.
Wow.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, it is just always a hobby of mine. I'm in a place in my life now where I can kind of do something more than a hobby with it, and I just remember back to it. Mom knows the story. I was in a hotel room. There was a church outside our window, whatever city it was that we were in, because I don't remember cities. That's something I can't do. I don't remember every detail from the tour, but there was a church outside the window. The bells were ringing. I just started writing what I thought might be a poem. It turned into I was singing it when I was writing it, and we left later on that day, and when we came back, the housekeeper left me a note saying how much she loved what I wrote and that I should keep doing it.
Wow.
And that, I'm sure we still have that piece of paper in a box somewhere. We do.
That's awesome.
It's probably in the scrapbook.
That's awesome.
So that will always be special to me. That that's a very creative part of my life. I do that, as a creative outlet mostly, and like I said, more of as a hobby. But again, that started with Barney. That started.
Yeah.
Do you have, can you have something like that? I mean, is your photography at all kind of with a Barney thought to it, or?
Maybe just in what I saw, especially on the road. I mean, we would go hiking and we would go to all these incredible places and meet these incredible people. So I think there's an aspect of that. I did take a lot of pictures. Wasn't a professional at that time, but I did. We'll have to at some
That's
point.
one of Mom's
bring it
memories
here.
of you. She said, "Carrie always had his camera out."
Yeah.
See?
He did. He always had his camera, and he often passed the camera to me and asked me to get pictures when he couldn't take them. So We also went to, remember we went to Rochester and saw the Eastman Kodak house?
I do remember that.
That was very fun.
I'm thinking about Vince Gill right now.
Uh-huh.
'Cause I do remember that. When you said that, the memory came back.
We sat on those boxes, those big. We didn't even have a seat. We sat backstage on roadie boxes or whatever they're called.
Wow. Well, it's just like the people that we've gotten some of the notes from.
Yeah.
Someone said they became a filmmaker, or a musician, or a songwriter. Barney plays a part of who you are today.
Well, he was all about imagination.
And kindness.
And she's saying love is just, she's bringing me to tears over here because it's the truth.
Why can't we have Barney today?
I don't see why we can't. What's happening?
Well,
Who
he's
do we need to call?
He's back on TV.
Yes.
Universal Kids, he's back on TV.
Oh, okay.
4
Yeah.
shows a day.
Okay.
And Amazon Prime. So you can actually watch Barney today.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. It just won't be the same, though, will it? I mean, would you look at it and go, I could do better? I mean,
I know. But I would rather my kids watch Barney than YouTube videos of kids playing with toys. That would be great. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I'm a YouTuber for the past 12 years, and I'll ever have my kids watch Barney, Sesame Street, stuff like that, you know? And my dad and I were huge fans of Mr. Rogers. So there you go. And when their kids grow older, they can watch PBS News or wherever they want. So there you go. Continue.
My kids love that so much.
Well, and what was so nice, the pictures, there wasn't, I mean, you couldn't call home. You couldn't text your husband and say everything's okay. I mean, that was the tough part. But at the same time, you did have to use your imagination every single minute.
You did.
Is there really a Barney magic? Is that something that's true? Is there Barney magic?
She keeps hearing about this each week.
Yeah, there is.
Just the whole love and kindness and being taught to the children and hopefully the grown-ups that watched it along with the children. But it's something that we could all take to heart right now in today's world.
And you know, they made magic for us. Again, this is a cast and crew of adults, and you had a handful of kids on tour with you.
Right.
And things like Halloween would come up, trick-or-treating. We were in a hotel. They set up their hotel rooms, created little haunted houses, and we went trick-or-treating in a hotel on Halloween. We dressed up as much as we could. I think I was a bag of laundry and for Halloween.
So a year on the road, you didn't miss childhood.
No, we didn't miss a thing. We didn't miss a thing.
Well, CAREY, another great guest, another good friend.
Well, you can see. I've learned so much today. Some stories that I had not heard, which I love.
And I know that our viewers and listeners will probably want to ask you some questions, mom questions, of course, CAREY questions, and go to info@purpletalespodcast.com. You'll want him to come back, right?
Oh my gosh, I don't want him to leave.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't believe it's already over. That went really fast.
See, it did go fast. And you know what? You can save all those other stories for next time. How about that?
There's probably more in that journal.
I know. Will you leave that behind and let us take a look?
Oh no, that's for me.
So,
So that was great. Thank you so much.
So good to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
So that was Purple Tales Podcast Episode 3. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode went to be a success. Anyways, that was episode for LJPCBM React, episode 321. I hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be the Pain Game Purple Tales Podcast, episode 4. But until next time, this is Jerry. Goodbye. Peace out, baby. We get more else from me out to you guys very soon. But until then, Jeff was saying out. See ya.
take for granted. And given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet